Welcome to the bright side of longevity. Join host Dr. Roger Landry along with co-host Danielle Pailly and guests as they discuss the bright side of getting older through healthy longevity. Guided by research, this lighthearted and educational show will leave you with practical ways to brighten your life's journey. Anna Hall is a founder and chief purpose officer with more than 25 years of experience in employee and team engagement, training, program development, and technology management in the senior living space. She is also a certified life coach and speaker. Anna developed the Purpose Equation, an evidence-informed framework that guides people at all ages and stages of life to define and activate their unique innate purpose in life and at work. She helps organizations tackle employee retention and engagement at the root rather than dealing with symptoms like disengagement and lost productivity. Her approach to purpose is derived from research, intuition, willingness to try new things and fail, and most of all, from years of interacting with purpose teachers living into their 80s, 90s, and beyond. Her workshops, courses, and leadership development experiences spark joy and meaning-making in every moment of every day.
Well, welcome everybody to the bright side of longevity. I am here with my magical being colleague, Danielle. How are you, Danielle?
Hey, Dr. Roger. How can you not love Anna, you're about to hear more from when, you start a call with her when she says, "Hello, you magical being."
That's how I roll.
I've said a lot of things, especially in the beginning of the podcast, esteemed colleague and mentor and all that, but magical being is probably the best. So it sticks, we're going to have to live with it. Thank you, Anna, for giving us that. Today, we're going to talk about something that, Danielle, that we and Masterpiece and everyone has been talking for a long, long time, because having purpose in life is a critical component of aging in a better way and of a healthy longevity. We don't have purpose, we wither. But it's something that's so individual. You can't tell someone what their purpose is. And so it's a matter of trying to get to know them and sort of throw them a few, anyway, it's a very customized thing and it takes skills. And there are very few people who can do it. Today, we have one who does it. And her approach is unique. It's from her. And Anna Hall is with us today. Welcome, Anna. We're so pleased to have you here today.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I guess we'll get right into it, huh, Danielle?
Let's do it.
Let's get right into it. With an intro like that, I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, I have no doubt about that. That's why we wanted you. We've been waiting for this for some time, Anna. So again, it is an unusual place, particularly for a young woman to go to, because your life can be so full of everything, mother, whatever, and all those things. And to think about older adults and their purpose is particularly unique and says a lot of very favorable things about you. And so how is it that you came to this vocation, this approach that helps so many?
I've spent my entire career with older adults. There it is.
There it is.
I volunteered at a nursing home when I was in high school for an adopted grandparent program. And I met Beanie. He was a resident there who had broken his hip, and he went in for a short-term stay, and it ended up being the home for the remainder of his life. I went there to help him read his mail and keep him company. It turns out that he changed my life and gave me the greatest gift, which was realizing that there's just something special about this connection with older adults. At the time, I was 18, but that connection stuck with me so much that I ended up writing my college entrance exam essay about him.
Wow.
And I didn't really think about it again. I went to college. I was an English poli-sci major. I was going to be a lawyer and work in international relations and be a diplomat. Then I graduated from college and I volunteered at an assisted living community while I was figuring out my next move. And I was hooked. I thought, oh my goodness, I met Evelyn and Annette and Irving and Wayne, all residents at the community. And I knew at that moment, if I can figure out how to make a career out of this, then decision made, because this does not feel like work.
You do what you love, right, Anna? Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Let me ask you a question. Did you have a good relationship with grandparents?
I did not have grandparents in my life
Ah,
to a great
Oh.
extent.
you know, it's funny. I asked that question in people who were in the field because it's really a calling rather than a job. And
Absolutely.
so many of them say it was their grandparents. Well, you had substitute grandparents.
I adopted a lot of the
Yeah,
grandparents.
well, we
I
hear
made
it
up
all their
for it in a
names.
big way.
We've heard their names already, and you still remember they were obviously very important in your life. So the purpose equation, how did that come about?
It was older adults, residents in communities who I admired, looked up to, learned from, and was inspired by every day, talking about themselves in the past tense. They
Oh,
would say, Anna, I used to do this. I used to be this. And I was thinking, okay, what about right now? And there was some type of a block almost about being able to fully appreciate and accept their identity as someone who was no longer working or being attached to a career or having other roles like having young children in the home or even being a grandparent. And I just thought, what is going on with this person that I aspire to be like, talking about themselves as if they almost don't exist anymore? Mm. And that coupled with 25 years working in either tech companies or within senior living communities in every role, community and corporate level, finding that there's this thread that all humans have of meaning making and wanting to figure out what is this thing called purpose? Because I'm spending my career creating programs and trying to build technologies that engage humans. But what is engagement and why do people engage? And what motivates some of us when we face challenges to keep going while other people seem to be less resilient or lose that motivation or drive to keep going? And then the other challenge was I love life enrichment directors, programming. That's really where I got my start in senior living. But why were the budgets so small?
exactly.
And so I wanted to get a budget. And in business, to get a budget, you need to show a return on that investment. And in order to show a return on investment in purpose, you need to be able to measure it, improve outcomes. And so that led me into thinking, okay, how can we measure purpose? Is there a reliable way to help a human define and activate their purpose? That was like the big question that got me so obsessed that finally in 2018, I quit my job and spent a year researching it.
Wow.
Talk about a calling.
That's courage. There's commitment. You know, it's we should all be ashamed in our culture to make the observation that you made that started you down this road that a meaning and purpose is in the past for older adults. You know, if you were several 100,000 years old, Anna, this would not be a problem because it would be obvious to you as an elder. You know, you see elders in tribes, or if you grew up in a blue zone, you see that where purpose is a defining characteristic, and it has been for so long. but we lost it probably around the Industrial Revolution or something. So, wow, that's to see that. And then measuring it, boy, did we ever learn that in Masterpiece from a holistic standpoint. You don't have partners, and I don't blame them unless you can demonstrate that this has worked. Certainly the life enrichment people know that you've made things better, but the decision makers and the check writers, they need to know. So I'm telling you, I wish I met you years ago.
Well, I wish I met you years ago. I've been following you for a long time. So I'm very excited to be here in this moment with you.
Well, it's that's quite a story. And it's said with such passion and such love that that it's very moving, because you can be good at a job, you can be very good at a job, and that's wonderful, but it still is a job. But this, as I said earlier, this has to be a calling if you're going to do it right, and obviously that's there.
Anna has to be a very courageous person, right? Because there are so many people who they have in their mind, I'm going to go and have this career, or somebody tells them you should go do this. For her to be so clear on this is what I'm going to do. And there was almost like nobody's getting in my way because I know, to have courage too, to do that. I'm sure that pivot at that age was not easy. I'm sure there were lots of challenges along the way, but to have that kind of drive is just admirable. So I have a two-part question.
Okay.
How do you infuse that purposeful living in retirement communities, both for like team members and staff, as well as for, say, community members and residents? Because you serve everybody. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Danielle. I initially developed this purpose equation framework for older adults to help them accept and see and celebrate like who they are naturally at any point in life, right? Because purpose, what it does is it gives us clarity about who we are, and it faces us in a forward momentum. And so I developed it for older adults, but then older adults would say, well, you've got to talk to my daughter. Well, the daughter's a boomer. And then the boomer would say, oh my goodness, my child who is just starting college hasn't picked a major yet. Could you help her discover her purpose? So by accident, I learned that the purpose equation is not for older adults, it's for humans. And so, of course, it applies to employees and residents and, people of all ages and stages in life. So the approach is the same for everyone. There's not an older adult purpose equation or a college student purpose equation. It is the same for everyone. And the reason it works is, one, because it's evidence informed. So it has pieces of theories of aging, positive psychology, self-determination theory. Plus, I'm a certified life coach. So it's not coaching per se because it's a framework I'm following. It's not open-ended, but it's powerful questions to help people discover their own purpose. Like you said at the beginning, Danielle, I can't tell anyone what their purpose is, but I do know for sure that we all have it. And I'll take it another step further to say we're all born with it. And I think our JOB in life is to connect with this innate, powerful energy that is within all of us and fuel that energy first so that we have the internal scaffolding to stand up through the winds of change that are inevitable in life, but also to grow it and share it with others. I think that purpose is a survival mechanism implanted into humans by a very wise being or energy, at the beginning of time, to say, okay, you are a species that is by nature interdependent. No human can live on their own. We know this from tons of studies, from studying babies to all of what we're talking about now, isolation and the health crisis that isolation causes. So humans need humans. What is it that drives us, not by choice, but by need to connect with other people? It's purpose. And so when we can take this vague definition of purpose, direction and meaning in life, and ground it in evidence-informed approaches that give each of us the language and the vocabulary and the understanding to know who we are and why we're here, that's really powerful. So, of course, employees need to know who they are and what they value. And then employers can take that unique purpose in every single human, or a resident or an employee, and say, okay, let's create an environment and opportunities to experience other people and life that are based in purpose flourishing. So that's really what I do. What does that look like in a more tangible level? Team building workshops, courses, classes, experiences that are all based on the purpose equation that help people discover who they are and how to bring their purpose to life.
So in addition to working with individuals, you're working with communities to have a culture where this happens. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I felt a sense of responsibility once I discovered that this framework works and helps an individual discover and activate their purpose. I felt that I had a responsibility then to not leave that purpose, that purposeful person, in an environment that constricts purpose. It felt almost cruel.
Yeah, be derelict. Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
So then we need to figure out, how do we help organizations create a culture where purpose flourishes? Because the last thing you want to do is help people discover their purpose and then say, okay, well, on to the next thing. Nothing else is going to change. Because it would actually create more disengagement, and it would cause a loss of trust.
So Anna, I've in talking about purpose over the last couple decades or so, I have come to a point where for the last decade or so, I'm saying this is something that is evolving always in us.
Always.
Yes, and what you just said validates that from your point of view, which I very much respect, because we have families, we have jobs, we have education, we have this, we have that. We get old, and is it over? Well, you just told us, of course not. So what is it then? And sometimes that is looking at it in a way we've never looked at anything. So I'm not saying without responsibilities, but with a whole lot fewer responsibilities or weights on us. Now we're kind of free, and we're not used to that as an older person. I know I'm going through it. And so, and you say, wow, well, it's almost the sky's the limit,
I agree. Some people, when they retire, run up against what I call the retirement cliff. There's such a focus on getting out of the grind that when you retire, like the day after retirement, then it's like, okay, I'm on vacation. I can do anything. How long does that last? Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 years, but it is guaranteed to come to an end, because we are all born with purpose. We all have an innate need for meaning making. And the meaning making possibilities are infinite. So when you don't have the responsibilities that capitalism and the economy and these human made paradigms put on us, elderhood is an incredible opportunity to expand and grow and share purpose.
Yes. Yeah, there's I'm sure you've heard the term gerotranscendence.
Oh, yes. Is that Peter Whitehouse? Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. I think it was a Scandinavian who actually first coined the phrase, but it's about becoming more spiritual, but becoming more of a different approach to your life as you get older. And it's one of the blessings, I think. It's too bad that we're so consumed when we're younger. Many don't have it. Some do, of course. But as we get older, it should be that time, when that's what we feel. What a tragedy it must be then, with what you're saying, when someone doesn't find their purpose, and that must happen a lot. And that's an absolute tragedy when you frame it the way you have just framed it.
Not only is it a tragedy, it's a health risk, right? Purpose at its foundation is really about life and health. So all the studies and data show that people, and I'm not going to say who don't have a sense of purpose, because that's impossible. You're born with it. But people who are disconnected from their unique purpose are more likely to experience cognitive decline and experience that decline faster. They're more likely to be disengaged socially. They are at higher risk for stroke and heart attack. They tend to lose grip strength faster. On and on and on. I won't bore you with all of that. But the point is, disconnection from purpose is a huge risk factor for health and wellness. And disconnection from purpose for employees, it leads to disconnection and moving on to another company. Because if you aren't able to feel your sense of purpose at work, then work is just a transaction.
Yeah.
Something that you can easily leave behind and go to the next place for 5 cents more.
Dr. Roger Landry is a preventive medicine physician trained at Tufts University School of Medicine and Harvard University School of Public Health. For nearly 2 decades, his focus has been on empowering older adults to experience a healthy longevity. He is the award-winning author of the book Live Long, Die Short, A Guide to Authentic Health and Successful Aging. Dr. Landry is an inspiring storyteller and presenter. His keynote addresses are powerful, entertaining, and optimistic. Learn more at livelongdieshort.com. I actually wanted to share, because Dr. Roger, Anna, I had a coaching session with her recently, and it was so interesting and fabulous. I encourage everybody listening to this to call her and talk to her and have a conversation. It was what made it so interesting and valuable to me is I went into the call like, I know my purpose. I know my passion. And we took it kind of to not only the next level, it's reaffirming purpose, clarifying it. And for me, I'm always like, okay, what's the next step? I can go in about 50 different directions, but what is the best next step? So we helped kind of refine it. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is she'd say, I'm noticing some hesitancy there. And I'm like, what hesitancy? But she'd hone in and say, nope, I'm noticing a hesitancy there. And she would point it out. And I realized that one of the things that I was getting stuck on was just not believing that I could do what I said I was going to do. Like there was this little tiny bit of doubt. And once she kind of shone a light on it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's not a helpful thought. I need to get rid of that. So all the talk we do about mindset, I fell into that trap. And she was so good enough to gently and with love say, oh, there it is. So with that and the way that and her approach to get people to think about purpose is not like, okay, tell me how you like to spend your time. It was like, let's do this visualization and go on a little adventure. And when you get outside yourself, that's how some of the magic happens, which is why she called me a magical being, which I will carry with me forever.
I called you a magical being because you are a magical being. I do that JoyFueled experience as the first step in anything that I ever do with purpose. Purpose has to start with fueling your joy, because I believe that joy is the fuel for us to have this energy exchange that purpose really is at its core. Danielle, I ask those same questions to everyone, right? Because it gives me a way to understand purpose at a foundation. No one has ever answered the question the same way, ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can reaffirm for you that you are a magical being.
And I'm the only one. She might not have exactly.
Well,
Well,
I've known you for 15 years, Danielle, and I've seen you grow exponentially. You have a little what doubt? Was it a
it was
little
a little, it was like this little,
red?
little hesitancy, this little tiny bit of
Little,
doubt where it's like it just needed to go away. Like, oh,
yeah,
that
well,
I'm getting in my own way by having that little bit of doubt.
when I
Mhm.
first met
Yeah.
you, there was a truckload of that, but I have seen it go away exponentially. But
Well,
now we're at the stage where we're dealing with the micro.
well, Dr. Roger, I credit my work with you and with Masterpiece and your mentorship for helping me to grow into all these ways. So I am eternally grateful. And all that to say, with my experience in my stuckness, my question for you, Anna, is are there one or two areas of stuckness that you find like commonalities among people?
Yes. So the first thing that I do is I teach people how to shed the shoulds.
Mm.
Should. A lot of us walk around saying, I should, I should, I should, I should. And I define should as guilt. Guilt does not serve us. Fear, on the other hand, I'm a fan. Because fear tells us there's something here worth examining. There's something here worth looking at. It doesn't necessarily mean run away, but it means there's an energy there. There's something to look at, right? Which can help us grow and expand. Guilt, however, is like it stops us in our tracks and gets us stuck. And so when we say I should do this, I should do that, every time we say should, it takes us further away from what is and who we are. So I have some different exercises and approaches and experiences that I've crafted to help people identify where they're shoulding themselves in their lives. And then not only identify it, but reframe that should as either it's a have to, a want to, or it's truly guilt and I can let it go. Because should, a lot of people think, oh, I should, I should, I should. They think that they're motivating themselves when they say, I should. I should go to this party. I should get that degree, right? I should choose this major. I should sell my house and move into a retirement community. The problem is that you're not giving yourself the insight in the moment to realize what actually is. So is it that I really need to move into a retirement community because my needs will be met there and I can have more freedom to flourish if I don't have the burden of this house? Or is it that I'm saying I should because my adult children are worried about me and it's taking on their fears and I'm fine and I'm going to let that go and live my life and be free? It's about
Hoorah.
shedding the shoulds and reconnecting with intrinsic motivation, which is actually what keeps us going through times and hard times.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, Anna, I grew up Catholic, so guilt and fear, I'm very not comfortable with, but I'm aware of it. So I think I overcame some early burdens and barriers to find my purpose. And but I believe what you said but I've never heard it quite articulated so well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I would like
So,
to ask you, because I cannot be on your podcast and not ask you this. How do you define purpose, Dr. Roger?
well, to give it a few bullets, it's individualized, it's evolving, but it is to make it a very understandable on a very common level. It's your reason to get out of bed, I
Mm-hmm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
and so with that, but I don't go as deeply as you. I said it. I encourage them that only an individual can define it.
Agreed.
Because as you say, we're all different. You don't get the same answer for some of your questions. You never
Never.
get it, and never. I mean, that's incredible because
Never.
I'm sure there's been so many,
Yep.
and so to at least prepare them for what it is, all the characteristics of this, and then I tell them to what in your past or what now brings you great pleasure when you're doing it. and since I'm talking to people who are retired, what does bring you pleasure? More important than pleasure, joy. Because as you know, joy comes from within, pleasure comes from without, and is usually associated with the opposite, the negative, when the pleasure goes away. And someone someone scratches your new car or whatever. But joy, that's not going to happen. So, that's about as far as I go, but at least I believe I set the stage for them and say, this is not this is not an optional thing if you were to have a healthy longevity. I mean, you can run and you can learn things and you can socialize and you can do all that, but if you don't have purpose, you're going to fall short of being all that you can be.
Yes.
So now you alluded right in the beginning of some people who motivated you, but could you tell us a few success stories? I'm dying to hear these, and the kind of outcomes besides seeing it happen. Some of the outcomes from your purpose equation that validated what you were observing.
Yeah. So I know that we are all walking around with a purpose, and we all have a sense of what that purpose is. Whether for some of us it's a feeling, for some of it's a sense of clarity, for others it's this calling. But the challenge is, if we don't put it into words, then our brain can't fully embrace it, and it becomes more challenging and a greater drain on our energy to try to bring that sense to reality. So I'll give an example of, I'll change names here. A man named Jim, successful CEO for the last 20 years of his career, a fully successful career, retired and felt like something was missing. Now, this is a gentleman who was actively retired, played pickleball, actually met the love of his life and got remarried in his mid-70s, yet he felt like something was missing. And he felt almost like he was moving through mud a little bit. Like, why I'm going through all the motions of life and living this dream retirement, but it's just something's not right. So we defined his purpose equation. And what he found is that what had made him a successful CEO, what had made him an incredible father and friend, was this underlying purpose that he had. And he was able to put some words to his purpose, like kindness, something that we take for granted. And by the way, here's an exercise for all of your listeners. Take that word kindness and go ask 5 people what kindness means to them, and you will get 5 different answers. Some of these things that we just all move through life taking for granted, we should not take for granted. There, I just said should, but I mean it in that case. So he was able to find these innate ways of being, is what I call it. Kindness, by the way, is also an aspect of positive psychology. It's a superpower, which is part of the purpose equation. And he was able to apply and see this thread of kindness throughout his whole life. So yes, we did a look back, not in a therapeutic way, but a look back to pull that golden thread from childhood all the way through to his current life in his mid-70s. And he started experimenting with being aware and intentional about his kindness. He felt and looked like a different person 3 weeks later. He said, I've realized that I am very kind and it brings me so much joy. And now that I am being kind with intention, I feel so excited to get out of bed every day that I'm actually waking up an hour earlier. And I'm sharing my kindness with everyone I know. And then they, in turn, are sharing kindness with people that they know. So it's a beautiful example of how purpose grounds us and gives us a sense of strength and solid footing, even when we don't know what else is going on or what will happen in life, right? Because change is one of those inevitable things. You can't be afraid of it because it's coming your way. You got to prepare for it. But to realize that something inside of him that he had overlooked or taken for granted or thought everybody's kind, when he realized what kindness looked like and felt like for him and how he uniquely put that out into the world in the most natural way, it transformed his experience of literally living and breathing every day. And he became more social, more himself, more engaged in life.
Wow. See, that's amazing because most people think of finding a purpose as there's trumpets and there's an announcement and here's a big deal and here I go. Here's someone who is doing it, but you brought him to a point where he became more mindful of what he was doing. You know, that wouldn't sell, for a large amount of money. It would for him and it would for anyone who's experiencing it. But what I'm saying is that doesn't sound like anything grandiose,
Right.
what you
Right.
did, but it was, and that's why I believe what you just said is so important. Again, purpose, we don't know where it is, but it's in there and here in our hearts and minds. And wow. And so just becoming mindful of what he was and how he did it. Wow. That's spectacular. That's just
And
spectacular.
in that context, as it is all the time, purpose has, I'm going to be blunt here. Purpose has nothing to do with what you're doing. Purpose is not a role. It's not a goal. It's not some big thing that you're going to one day do and be good enough or fulfill your purpose. It's 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 like your personal operating system. And an operating system is made of different elements, right? There's the energy source, there's joy, there's the CPU, there's the motherboard, there's all the wires. I look at it as these very specific evidence informed elements. These are the patterns that of nature. We all of our purpose does follow the same pattern, kind of like the golden spiral, right? I just changed my logo to that because you can see this same algorithm of the golden spiral in a tiny snail shell and also in the shape of galaxies. They are different, yet they have this innate pattern. And I look at purpose the same way in people. The reason the framework works is because there is a very standard, predictable pattern of what purpose looks like and feels like and how to discover it in each person. But how that goes out into the world is like, it's like a ray of light. We each emit this totally unique wavelength. And so it's about connecting with that energy inside of you that emits this wavelength and then walking through life with a knowing, right, Danielle? Taking away those little seeds of doubt or fear or waiting for your purpose to one day be enough, and walking through life knowing that this is how you're built and that no matter what realm of life you're engaging in, work, life, socializing, walking through nature on your own, that this power is inside of you and it was put inside of you for a reason, and that it's going to come out without you trying, as long as you can be aware and honor it and be intentional about it. So what I really do is help people put words to it and then live with more intention in terms of sharing their purpose.
Wow, we in the military would say, hoorah. Yes, what you just said. Well, at this point, I would say normally, well, could you give us some nuggets? Well, that's all you've been doing this whole session here. So, but I will give you the opportunity if you would like to leave our listeners with something, perhaps have them leave here saying, I'm going to find my purpose one way or the other, and this is important to me, and I need to do it. And maybe Anna is the way, but I have to find it. And so, what would you tell a person if you had 15 seconds with them or something, and they're lost at this point?
Well, first I'll say there are many ways to discover purpose. The purpose equation is a framework that I created that has worked for thousands of people, but it doesn't have to be this way. I have a community of purpose practitioners that I love and admire and learn from every day. Some people discover their purpose through yoga, meditation, personal growth classes, whatever it is, discover your purpose, because it's a matter of life and health. So that's what it is. That's the first thing. Do not think that purpose is just some vague woo-woo thing that you'll do when you have time. Because if you want your time to matter, you've got to discover your purpose. Don't wait. And the takeaway is, if you want to get started, do not underestimate the power of joy. Everything that I do starts with joy. It's the fuel for our life force. It's the fuel for our ability to exchange meaning making in everyday life. So think about and explore, what is it that you do that you would do anyway? What activities do you do that make you lose track of time, lose track of self-consciousness, that feel delightful? And then here's the key, that afterwards you feel energized and refreshed, and then do more of that with intention. Prioritize doing that, and that will open the gateway to connecting with your purpose.
Very well said. People don't know this, but we don't live all that far apart. What, maybe 40 minutes or so by car?
Yeah.
We got to have some coffee, Anna.
I can't wait. I'll be at your doorstep.
Or mine, yours, or halfway, whatever. But I definitely want to do that, because I would like to continue this. And I think our listeners will too. So I think we have a date in the future with a podcast in the future. Again, we'll build on this. And
I love that.
Thank you for sharing all of that.
We always have to ask, where can people go to learn more about your work so they can get in contact with you?
So you can go to thepurposeequation.com. Also, my personal LinkedIn account, follow me there. I share about insights, experiences, learnings, questions about purpose almost every single day on LinkedIn. So if you want to know what's going on in my mind and what I am currently experiencing and learning about purpose, because I'm a learner, I will never call myself an expert. I am a lifelong learner about purpose, and I think that I'm here to share it and help people discover theirs. You can also email me directly, Anna@thepurposeequation.com.
Thank you for this, Anna. Certainly, you've led Danielle and I hope many, many listeners on a journey of self-discovery, at least the beginning. And that discovery is about what makes us human. And boy, I can't think of anything more valuable to talk about, and to hopefully people will internalize and act on it. And thank you again, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Bright Side of Longevity with host and preventive medicine physician and award-winning author Dr. Roger Landry, and co-host, nationally board-certified positive psychology and mindfulness coach Danielle Pailly. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.